Quicker than a blink, an Audi soars down the main strip of downtown Longbrook and crashes into the side of the Hyatt Hotel. Glass dripping red scatters through the air and covers both lanes and the median. I step towards the wreckage and hesitate before the body. On the median, once glowing with flowers from around the world, the body lies flat out, arms twisted around the torso, knees bent inwards, and a steel rod running down from the dead man's skull and out of his back. And all this seems like her work. I brush past the man, only giving him a moment's glance, and reach the hood of the car. All the smoke from the dented hood mixes with the gleam of traffic signals and street lamps to create a cocaine club perspective of the night. Underneath all the smoke, I find a metal speed limit sign. The car crashed at around 90 miles per hour. The sign reads 45. This is how she can still make me laugh. Written on the sign is Melissa Eve Maker. The signs aren't uncommon these days, though. Back when I thought I was the only person in this town that couldn't sleep, I used to see wannabe gangsters spray painting their names and symbols underneath bridges and on the sides of banks and buses, all along trains too. Some people used to even paint their names over the engravings of tombstones. The latter made me sick the first time. But now I'm not alone. No one in this town sleeps, and to be perfectly honest, it's really starting to piss me off. As though gravity stops working, I spin around in a circle and glance at everything I can see through the thick dark. Along the sidewalks are trash can fires. Every mile or so there's a murder. Storefronts are shattered. Police stations are broken down brick by brick. There's no justice left in the world except for the first come, first served policy on everything. And of course, all around me are the names of everyone who cannot sleep in Longbrook, spray painted onto something. One side of the downtown strip is blasted A's, as in Alex and Ashley. The other end gets a little weird with the Y's and Z's. In the near distance, someone screams as though they've witnessed a child or loved one being murdered, followed by the sound of someone guffawing as though they found their child or loved one. Ignoring the sound, I head to the Audi, which continues to smoke heavily, and I peek inside. Just as I expect, a can of spray paint wobbles on the floorboard. I place the can on the ground next to the body and retrieve the speed limit sign. I place the sign on the contorted dead man and go back for the paint. Enjoying the hissing sound of the can spraying over the screens of the night, I write my name on the man's body, Frederick Adam Hope. It's 2 weeks before this mess started, and it's in the dark makeshift of my studio apartment where I hunker over a keyboard and stare at my eyes dry at a flickering monitor. On the screen is a search engine for careers and jobs. One by one, I flash through the details. Writer wanted. So far, so good. 5 years experience in the field. That's the catch-22. Everything from McDonald's management positions to the high ranks of CEO at Apple have requirements that no one can fulfill. There are plenty of jobs out there, but no one's qualified. It's nearing 4 in the morning before I reach the end of the first listing. My forehead sweats grease and my fingers won't stop shaking. I sip out the bottom of a beer bottle and set it alongside its 5 counterparts. The new bottle knocks over the old bottle behind it, and so on, and soon a trace stream of beer splatters over my bills. The fat late notice red stamp bleeds along the paper, despite my manic attempts to dry it off. I indulge in relaxing breath and rub my head. My slight reflection on the monitor reveals that my sweaty hands have pasted late notice on my forehead. I snatch my pack of cigarettes from within the desk and storm out to the balcony. The cold breeze of the night used to be something uplifting to me, the only thing that could appease my racing mind, but Melissa took that away too. The silk sheets tracing her perfect frame would always lift with a passing gust seeping in through the window, like slow wakes along the shoreline. Now when I breathe, I'm choking on her. Nonetheless, I step outside and light my first cigarette. The smoke twirls around my head, something I can appreciate until it reminds me of dancing, reminds me of wind, reminds me of her half naked under the silk sheets. Damn her, I mutter to no one in particular. I cough as I speak to the dark and quiet world. The smoke tears at my throat. No sooner than I have the urge to wheeze, a light turns on in an apartment across the street. Someone else is awake. I've never seen an apartment light on this early in the morning before. Maybe someone's off to an early workday. But I doubt it, because all the jobs have requirements that no one can meet, and I continue to watch. The shadow of a young woman appears on the curtains. In a quick rip, they are parted and the blur of the woman comes to view. She stands forward and never twitches, nor do I. We stare at each other, and something kinetic happens between us. Not kinetic like energy, but like nonverbal magic. The knowing glances, the suggestive stares, something like that, only she's telling me to leave. It's a territorial blaze. I'm beaming one back at her, too. This is my early morning. This is my quiet world. I'm the person that runs around when the rest of the world is sleeping. This is my stress, my insomnia, and not hers. She steps away from the window and closes the curtains. They do a little jig before laying flat. A dance like the wind and the sheets over the perfect body. I mutter, "Damn it again," and I flick my cigarette butt over the balcony. This is a $5,000 fine in Longbrook, but at this hour, no one will notice. Although I'd rather be asleep like someone normal, I use these few hours in the morning where I can tell society and its rules to fuck off. It's 1 week closer to the scenario along the downtown strip, and an empty bottle of Ambien bounces off the desk. I chug a giant glass of water and swallow. On the edge of bed, I sit up and wait. I try lying down. In the midst of all this, my fingers somehow find their way back to the keyboard and start clicking. Every job for a writer pops up again. After sifting through 1,000 unpaid internships, I find a shorter, but still somewhat long listing of jobs. Requirements. None of these recommendations mean anything until I start noticing all the repeat names of businesses. Their names match the story letters and the voicemails. Like clockwork, I step outside and feel the breeze. It dances around me, like the sheets swirled up and wrinkle around the shape of Alyssa's body, but her perfect little self is nowhere to be found. And to be honest, I noticed this way before the ambient, and definitely before the second. Across from my apartment, the woman's light is on again, and once again she is staring. My attention is torn away from her the moment I notice a second light turning on her apartment complex, then a third from the apartment below it, and then there's a thin scent of gasoline in the air. It runs along the woman across from me, who has her head jerked out the window. She's looking at the other apartments just like me. Something about her curiosity reminds me of the way Melissa used to rubberneck over my shoulder to read the screen. She would say, "Come on, it's late, let's go to bed." "I'm sorry," I would mumble 1,000 times. "I just can't sleep until I know what my future brings." "Well, the future is tomorrow, too," she says. "I think the world will be waiting for you tomorrow." I tell her there's no way to be sure. How can I know who I am unless I know what I am contributing to the world? Melissa's voice drowns away to the sound of the apartment complex in front of mine exploding. How I reach the street in a matter of seconds is beyond me, but when I'm standing on the road, I don't feel so fast. Already a fire engine rushes to the scene, preceded and followed by police cars. Another officer stands on my side of the road and watches the blaze as others begin to fight it. "What happened?" I ask the officer. He turns to me and shakes his head. "Can't be sure, but if you don't live here, it'd be a good time to leave." I tell him I live across the street, that I'm just a concerned citizen. "And I think you're full of shit," he interrupts. "But if you must know, we're already suspecting arson, the gasoline drift." But he doesn't mention the fuel. Instead he says, "It's been a common theme lately. A lot of fires, a lot of cars blowing up." "Cars?" I ask him. "Yeah, shit's happening and we're not sure why. Everyone around this town just seems to be unnerved lately. And then there are the fires." We both stare at the flames as they sway in the wind, growing larger, swaying as in dancing, dancing as in the sheets on my empty bed as in Melissa leaving me while I'm staring at my saggy eyes in the bathroom mirror, the mirror as in the medicine cabinet in which a bottle of pills no longer exists as in my love, my handgun, my sleeping pills, and my sanity. One bedroom light at a time, and soon the whole world is awake. Hours before the dead man soared out of the Audi, he was probably fighting to sleep and decided to go for a nice drive to calm his nerves. But in the new world, you cannot be caught relaxing. I stumble along the streets for a while, spotting out more street-side fires and red cars. Something about all the destruction soothes me. It's like I'm no longer the only insane person in this town. It's that thought alone which brings me back to my depressed, insecure state. If I'm no longer the only insane person in Longbrook, who does that make me? I can no longer slap my name on absurd behavior, the last thing I thought to be uniquely me. Underfoot, something slides and presses on my arc. In the dim light of all the fires, I see an empty prescription bottle. It doesn't surprise me whose name's on it. Something sparks above me, a shatter, a quick flame, then a sudden blackness. Someone has blacked out the street lamps. Lost in the darkness, I stagger back and forth until I feel the cold steel press against the side of my head, followed by a smooth, feminine voice saying, "Come with me, asshole." There's no guidance along my path except for the cold steel pushing in the ubiquitous trash can fires. The sound of men and women screaming crosses the town every few seconds. Somewhere there's the sound of another explosion, the whisper of gunfire, the sweet aroma of gasoline and sulfur. For miles we keep on walking, the woman with the gun and I, and a quick push of the gun urges me to stop walking. The voice says, "Here we are." With a sudden whoosh of fuel, a dumpster at the end of the alley lights up. Along the walls of the buildings to each side are the names of streets: Main, Greenwich, Evergreen, Moeller. I ask, "What are these?" The woman steps in front of me and waves the gun for me to see. My gun, Melissa holding it. "Oh my God," that's what I say. She replies, "What kind of gun is this?" I tell her I don't know. "Where did you get the bullets for this?" "I don't know." "How do you not know?" Her anger is sweet. It dances like the sheets. Everything about this woman is beautiful. Her short black hair, her steampunk appearance, those sapphires in her head. I wonder how I could be made out of the very same human clay. I feel cheated by God when I see her. "There was one bullet left in here," she says. "Obviously you know how to get ammo." I ask her when she started appreciating guns. "My pacifist days are over," she says. "Now where do I get the bullets?" "So you no longer enjoy peace?" I ask. "You no longer want to make the world a better place, a place without weapons?" She says, "That's exactly what I'm doing." "Bullets, where?" "I don't know," I tell her again. "I've never bought them." "Bullshit, Freddie. There was still one in the gun when I took it from your apartment," she says. "And the pills," I mutter. "And the pills, fine, whatever. But seriously," she says, "we can't be on the streets like this with only one bullet left." I've told her I've only ever bought one bullet. And she slaps me hard against the face. "Red like fire, fire like the red of my sheets," and so on. "You son of a bitch," she cries. "Do you realize what an asshole you are? I only noticed the gun after we were dating for a few months. How long have you had the gun?" "I purchased the gun while we were dating," I say, and she slaps me again. I'm starting to enjoy the infection. Thank you.